Good evening, I'm Coach Flowers for the baseball team. Before I get started, I'd like to say that Dr. Williams, thank you for coming and taking time out of your busy schedule. The first time I met Dr. Williams and James was at Wilson Tech. He may not recall this, but I had taken a computer course from him. Now, I haven't been exactly lighting up the world on the internet. I don't think the folks at Apple Computer have anything to be concerned about job security. But I learned then that he was playing football for the Raleigh Rebels, and a friend of mine was friends with the owner. So we decided to roll up into Raleigh and Jordan Arena one Wednesday night, I believe it was, and and James reeled off a 7-yard run off the right side. I mean, it was something. I mean, what's that the equivalent to in a real football game on a real field? Probably 15, 20 yards. But I knew one thing. You had to be an animal to be out there on that field. With those guys in that close confinement, and there was some hitting going on. But that was exciting. The only thing I can think of that I don't like about James is the fact that I learned he went to Methodist College, and Coach Pearson can probably understand Methodist and Wesleyan. That's like the Duke and Carolina of Division III. So that's the only. But he's a good guy, and I really thank him for coming down tonight. Spring sports. Thank God for Barack Obama declaring global warming, because I think that would froze my behind parts off this spring. And old man Winter came back several times and really probably cost us a championship in the conference. I'll get to that a little bit later. We had a record of 11-3. And we won the county outright for the first time since I've been coach here. Woo! In fact, we swept the conference. We only had one guy to blame for not winning the conference. Well, we swept the county. We only got one guy to blame for not winning the conference. And that's the coach's fault. Coach Rogers, I don't know why you talking to me. Not starting Jalen that game. Come on up here, Coach Rogers. You can give him a round of hiss and boo. It was my decision that week, since we were starting the season, really a delayed start because we had a rain out against the week before. And we had to play South Edgecombe down in Pine Tops. Well, I'm thinking, we got 3 games this week, and we got Spade coming up. I'm going to save Jay, okay? Well, in my efforts to try to get the best and most optimal situation going for us to try to win all 3 games, I kind of backed us out of winning that first game, and it really cost us because South Edgecombe wound up winning the conference. If had we won that game, we would be probably been playing for a conference championship. But that's my decision, and I felt like the Spade game was more important for us at that time. I felt like we almost won that game anyway. It was a 1-run loss. But we never lost the game with Jalen pitching. He was hands down great. I don't want to get too big ahead about that, but I can tell you this. In my conversation with Coach Pearson a couple of weeks ago, I spoke about with Jalen pitching 3/4 or 75%, because I know y'all got to take the EOG later. Get up on your price. But over 3/4 of Jalen's pitches were strikes. And that means Jalen getting out in front of hitters, Jalen pressing those hitters and really putting them in a bad position. And I don't even want to go through all the lectures I heard on being ahead in the count and what different counts can do. I mean, I can talk all night about it. It's on the internet if you want to look at the counts. But that's very important, getting ahead of hitters, and Jalen did that. And some of the balls, he threw the balls we asked him to throw. That's even more amazing that, some of those pitches would have been strikes had we not gotten the ball and asked him to throw balls. All right. You know, the guys asked me this, and I decided not to talk about it until tonight. They saw what Coach Pearson does in the gym. He put up that conference title, baseball, 2006. It's up there on the wall, right? In gold. Well, my guys are going to get their number up there, 2014. But it's going to be blue. But there's something this team did that that team didn't do. And that's beating and winning the county and sweeping the county. Now that team got a conference title. And, you know, you start analyzing. And I know this, I've woken up on Monday mornings before and looked in a couple of publications. And I just had to be on the #1 team in the country a couple of times in my lifetime, in my college days. And that's something that you really cherish. But this team here, that's what you do. You start comparing. And that's what they did with us. They started comparing that team with the next championship team or the #1 teams. Well, you know, I could go through that lineup and tell you all about that team, outfielders and infielders. But one of the things about it is you make your middle strong. And the similarities of this team and that team was the middle of our diamond. I know we had Spencer Witt back then. He was part Willie Mays and part Spider-Man. But we also had Marty Madoff. We had Mr. Wheeler, Michael Longhorn, and a guy named Daniel Moore that played the middle, and they alternated pitching. And we had Porter Watson, Zach, of course, Jalen on the mound is as good as anybody I've ever had. And behind the plate, back then we had Cullen Carter, who had a little edge hitting left-handed, but I would take Jackson. He would start over that guy, even though I thought he was a great catcher. Something I remember one day in the practice, and Jalen's a great catcher. Jalen dropped down with one knee, threw behind the runner at first. We were working on throwing the bases. And Jackson, it's great to have teammates who can do things that you can't do. Because you can learn from each other. And that goes, I hope you can apply that to whatever sport you play. Because as you move along, you know, you're not going to always be the best at one particular thing. So if you can learn and watch and listen and try to emulate some of the things that other great players do, it's going to take you farther. I know I wasn't the best college hitter, but I learned to move runners, and within my talents helped me. And these guys here, each one of them have talents. Each one of them does things particularly well. It's just they have to build upon that, and hopefully they'll continue to play into high school. I just hope that they listen, go along and work hard, because that's part of it. It's the old story that always comes back. It's in Cyclone Country. You can read it, that Gus Williams talks about. The two boys with the bicycle. One daddy bought his son a bicycle. The other son went out and worked in the fields and earned his bicycle and paid for his bicycle. Well, they went out, and at the same time, both of those kids got their bikes stolen. And the story is, who's more devastated? Well, if you don't get that story, then you know you're not the type of person that's going to work for something. And it's funny now that kids, how they relate to that story, they go, well, good, I'll give you a four-wheeler now. But anyway, we're going to announce these players here. I know I took a lot of time. Tanner Rogers, Jared Haynes, Jackson Terry, Jalen Melton, Jonathan Hendricks, Nick Clark, Trey Joyner, Marty Madoff, Hunter Creech. Move down once you get your award so they can get a picture. Sam Overton, Nick Faulkner, AJ Gunner, Porter Watson, Zach Pittman, Aaron Boswell, Dylan Robertson, and Desmond Deans. Woo! Thank these guys. Y'all wait a minute now. And I want to thank Coach Rogers for helping out, keeping my sanity. I try to have a good sense of humor through it all. Every day's been an adventure. And I learned a lot of new things this year. Okay, you guys that I got to give a certificate to. I'll see you right after. All right. This is the 2014 County Champion Baseball.